Morning, guys. Hope you're doing well. Today, I want to talk about this topic: why are so many people in their 20s unhappy? This was a message that I got. Hey, Arnav, in recent years, well being has become more of a bigger topic in culture. Yet, what's interesting, at least in my personal experience, is I don't see people happier, even with the increased dialogue on mental health and well being. Obviously, all of my friends and I are in our 20s. I'm curious, do you think happiness is harder to obtain for people in their 20s? So, first thing that I'll say, and again, I know I'm being annoying and it's sort of technical, and I'm not trying to demean your personal experience with your friends, but it's important to make a distinction between your personal experience and broader society. Your friend group, for example, is just one data point. The bigger data set is the entire world. And obviously I understand that from your viewpoint of the world, you use your friend group as the biggest example, and that makes sense since you interact with them the most. However, when we're looking at things like making a statement that you don't feel the increased dialogue has helped broader society, you need to look at the broader society data, right? So you need to look at how many people in 2013 were using therapy, and compare that number with 2023, or how were the crime rates in 2013 versus 2023. Maybe that's and it obviously hurt people, so a decreased crime rate might show that we are doing better, or more people, an increased percentage of people using therapy might mean that more people are understanding the value of mental health, and that well-being is going up in society. So again, I apologize for just kind of starting this off with more of a technical critique, but I do think, and not just you, but I think many people make their conclusions of the world based on personal experience, and we need to kind of take a third part, step back and look at the broader. Obviously, your personal experience is very important, and obviously it dictates the way you and others view the world, but in terms of asking broader societal questions, we got to look at broader society. And the other thing that I would say on top of that, and again, it's more of a technical point, just because the broader dialogue has gotten better doesn't mean your personal friends are taking advantage of that, right? So let's say you and I both agree mental health and therapy have gotten less stigmatized in recent years, as more famous people and successful people have said they use it for their well-being, and they use it as another coaching tactic to make them the best self that they can be. That doesn't mean that your personal friends are actually going to therapy, which may be why you haven't noticed a big difference with the people you surround yourself with. Again, obviously I don't know the answers to those questions with your specific friend group, but what I'm trying to say, I guess, is certainly knowledge is definitely one aspect of life, but maybe even more important than that is whether people are actually making changes based on having that knowledge. It's one thing to know about something, it's a completely different thing to act on that knowledge, right? So your friends might have the knowledge that therapy is helping a lot of people, but they might not actually personally be doing anything, in which case they're not gaining any benefits from that. Now, more to answer your question, I think I'll say this in terms of really looking at people in their 20s. in general, the 20s are when the foundation of your life is built, which isn't always the most fun, and may be why you think people in their 20s aren't as happy. For example, when it comes to work, the 20s may be the time period or the decade when a lot of the hard work happens. You may be in school, you may be in an entry-level job, and so the rewards aren't necessarily there because you're working hard to set the foundation, for your 30s and onwards. And then again, when it comes to relationships as well, the 20s tends to be the foundation for the future rewards as well. A large percentage of people in their 20s are single and hope to find their life partner by the end of the decade. And obviously those two factors, work and relationships, are a big part of people's lives and can cause a lot of stress if you're single for years on years, or you're in an entry-level job for years on years, which may lead to unhappiness that you may be seeing. Another thing that I would say that I see a lot of people in their 20s do is set arbitrary goals, for when they'll be happy, and then not really enjoy the present because they're not at that point. Let me be clear in saying I think goal setting is great. I think you should aim to better your life year to year, and if you are that type of person where you want to reflect on 5-year goals or 10-year goals, that's definitely can be healthy. But I think a lot of people in their 20s set those arbitrary goals, like making a certain salary or buying a condo or a house. And then until that point comes, like, they feel inadequate, they associate, negative self-esteem towards themselves until that certain thing happens. Right? So, like, for me, the difference, I guess, the way I would approach that is certainly aiming to say in a decade I want to buy a condo is definitely a fine goal. And you can figure out based on your salary how much you need to save per year for their down payment and things like that. But I think a lot of people, what they do is, that's their view of happiness. And until that's accomplished, they're not going to feel happy. And I think there's a couple of things wrong with that. First thing is to realize accomplishing the goal isn't going to really change the internal mechanics of you. I think plenty of professional, successful people have said this. I think Jim Carrey was one of them, and said it in some form or another, but they've said things to the nature of, I wish people could live for one day, as a famous person or as a successful person, and realize that not much changes in terms of the internal mechanisms of who you are will continue to be who you are, and you're still a human being, and life still happens even as those goals are accomplished. So I'm not sure if I explained that very well, but basically, in other words, what I'm trying to say is, if you're unhappy to begin with, buying and then living in a condo isn't going to change that. You're still going to be unhappy. If you don't fix the root mechanisms of what's causing the unhappiness, changing the environment, isn't going to change the internal, headset or mindset. Obviously, don't get me wrong, there's definitely going to be a pride in accomplishing that goal, and there's a happiness in that, but that again is going to normalize, right? After like theoretically a month living in your condo or whatever, the high of that accomplishment will go down, and again you'll go back to normal life. And second thing on that, why I don't like it is people that associate their happiness with that goal don't have a ton of day-to-day enjoyment. So, for example, there's a lot of people in their 20s who are single, and a lot of them are miserable because they view, until they're in a relationship with their life partner, they can't be happy. And I think that that's really unhealthy. You can be internally happy and still be seeking a life partner. You can be in an apartment saving up for a condo or a house and still be happy. Your happiness is dictated by you as the individual and your mindset, your perspective, and what you're allowing in your life, right? I'll go more into this in two, or I guess I could even talk about it now, but basically, and this is really not age related, but I think if you find yourself being unhappy, you may want to audit your life, right? There's ways to manage your happiness, and I think auditing your mood is definitely one of them. So checking in on your mood on a week to week or month to month basis might be important for you. For example, are you happy at your job? Are you happy with the people and relationships that you surround yourself with? If either of these are not the case, can you make a change? Can you search for a new job in a better environment? Or can you limit time with a person who's bringing your mood down? Can you limit that time on a week-to-week basis? And then on the flip side, can you do more things that make you happy in life? Maybe you enjoy playing a sport. Why not join an adult sports league? Maybe you enjoy video games. Incorporate playing more video games into your life. And then I think the other point I'll say, especially with people in their 20s, and I talked about this last week, but I think comparison is so much more rampant for people that are younger, especially with the advent of social media. I think for all of us to be able to go on this platform and then get to see how so many other people are living, it's almost impossible not to compare yourself to those other people. And like I said last week, comparison is a thief of joy. For me, the ability to focus on your journey and improving yourself is the key to life, is one of the keys to life. But that gets hard when you're constantly on social media. You may have a good day, be proud of the growth you've made. Comparing your life from a year ago where it was, but then you go on social media and you see so many other people who on screen seem to have a better life than you, and then naturally you get kind of sad or depressed and wish you had their life. So I think that is a big key for people in their 20s, is limiting social media or using social media in the right way. Hope all. This was a little bit more convoluted. Sorry that I didn't have it more pieced out. Certain ideas just kind of came in as I was thinking, but I guess my main thing in what I'm saying is certainly people in their 20s may seem less happy. That definitely can be valid, obviously given the reasons what I've said, but I think, like I've also said, there are ways to manage that and ways to go against that. And so, I would just encourage you to make sure to enjoy the journey, on a day-to-day basis, because that is what ultimately life is all these days added up is your life. And if you're not enjoying that, that's going to put a strain on you. So, as much as you can, try to create more things and more time for the people and for the things that bring you joy. And hope this helps. Feel free to give me any feedback that you have. Thanks, guys.